We are on page 14, our final page, and this is it. Fold out. Has a little side pocket here, and it's also a fold out. We have our side pocket here, and we have a pocket going the other way. We have a pocket here, and a large pocket here. Let's get started. Okay, paper pad number 2. In the very, very back is the sheet that we want. Let's take that out. Turn it, measure over 7 1/4 inches, and cut it. Put this in reserves. Again, we are not 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. We are 7 1/4 long, but we're only 6 1/2 wide. We need to compensate for that. Let's grab some cardstock. Grab a piece of cardstock from your reserves, measure over 1 inch, and cut a strip. Now turn it, measure down 7 1/4, and cut it. We're going to apply score tape to the one side. However, it doesn't go on this side. It's going to be placed over here. So like we did before, score tape down the one side, remove the score tape, and we are going to place that evenly, just like that. Let's get our pocket ready. On a piece of cardstock, measure over 4 1/8 inch and cut it. Grab your deep edge punch, and we are going to punch along the side. Now we're going to mount a side pocket. Run your score tape down the one side. I don't know about you, but my craft desk is a mess. You just can't see it, all of it. I'm going to have to organize this in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to place it down, and we're going to wrap our edges and tack them down. In paper pack number 2, flip open to the green side. On the back is this. This is what we want. Measure over 2 3/4 inch and cut it. The large part goes in reserves. Turn it, measure over 7 1/4 inch and cut. Now we're not going to mount it quite yet. We are going to cut a piece of lace to fit, and we're going to glue it down just like that. Now you're going to cut a piece of bling to fit and glue that right on down. In your reserves, you will have this strip. I want this trim piece right here, so let's cut that out. For now, set this off to the side. Grab a piece of scrap cardstock, measure over 3/4 inch, and cut a strip. All we're going to do here is a little trimming. We are going to lay this down so that we can wrap a flap around the back side for this little pocket. We're not going to cover the bling here. We're just going to need come on the left-hand side of that and cut a strip. We are going to pinch this, turn it over, and tack it down. And you can trim that right on off. And you're going to tack down this side as well. Now, grab this, and you are going to bring the corner of this up to the corner of the page. Make sure it's straight. Whoops. Centering it on the black. Make sure it's straight. And we are going to make a cut. We're also going to do that right down here. Figure out where you need to be and make a cut. Now we're going to glue this down. Now grab a flat back pearl, position it in the middle, glue it down. Now what we're going to do is apply glue to the back of this and mount this down. This is what your page should look like. We're going to work on our first fold out. I'm using a leftover piece of black cardstock. I am going to measure over 6.5 inches and cut it. I'm going to turn it and measure over 7.25 inches and cut it. My final piece is 6.5 inches by 7.25. Get your scoreboard out. We are 6.5 inches wide across this way. Measure over to the 5.5 mark and score it. Measure over 1/8 of an inch and score it again. Fold along your score lines. And we are going to work on, it's going to go this way, flaps off to the left. We're going to work on that double pocket here. Grab a piece of cardstock, measure over 4.75 inches and cut it. Turn it, measure over 7.25 inches and cut it. Now in your reserve pile you will find 2 sheets that are almost identical in cuts. One's going to have the scrolls off to the right and one's going to have the scrolls off to the left. On the back looks like this. We want this one with the scrolls off to the left. This is going to place down just like this here in just a moment, but we do need to trim this up. So turn it, measure over 7.1/8 inch and cut it. Apply glue to the back of this. It gets mounted to the far left, centered, where you're going to have a 1/16 of an inch. And a little black showing to the left. Okay, let's prepare and get our pocket. In your reserves, you should find an extra piece of cardstock. You'll need one that's going to be long enough to go past the edges and wrap around. Measure over 2 inches and cut it. Grab your 1/2 inch border punch and we're going to punch along it. Apply score tape to the far right side. And let's mount our pocket. And we're going to tuck our flaps. Grab this sheet from your reserves, measure over 1.5 inches and cut. Turn it, measure over 7.25 and cut. Now glue this down. Now cut a piece of lace to fit and glue it down, just like that. Looking at it like this, flip it over. We're not going to put score tape here. That's the opening of the pocket. For the other side, we're just going to go along here on 3 sides. And we're not going to quite mount it yet. We do need one more piece of paper. Okay, set that off to the side. In your reserves, grab that other piece, flip it over, measure over 1.5 inches and cut a strip. Turn it, measure down, 7 and I would say 7 1/8. And I've got glue to the back of mine. The flaps are off to the left. I'm going to glue this right on over here. Now let's remove our score tape and we are going to mount that just like that. Now you should have a pocket here and you've got your pocket here. Flip this over, fold in your flaps underneath, and let's work on this. Grab that same piece that we had cut a strip, measure over 1.5 inches and cut it. Turn it, measure 7 1/8 and cut it. Apply glue and we are going to mount it right over to the side there. Let's grab a piece of cardstock. Measure over 5 1/8 inch and cut. Turn it, measure over 7 1/4 and cut. In your reserves, find this piece, and there is going to be black across the top and the bottom. We are going to glue that down just like that. Now, pinching it on this side, flip it over. We are not going to put score tape on this side. Put score tape along those 3 sides. This is what you should look like. Let's remove our score tape. The opening on this side, I am going to push this all the way over to the edge, lining up my cardstock with my other one. And pressing it down. Now, grab this, pinch it, tack down your flaps. Let's work on our second fold out. I'm pulling this from my reserves. Measure over 5 3/4 inch and cut it. Turn it, measure over 7 1/4 and cut it. This is 5 3/4 inches wide. We are going to score at 5 inches, measure over 1/4 inch, and score again. Let's fold in our flaps. Grab this sheet out of reserves. The first thing that I want you to do is turn it this way. Measure over 7 1/8 and cut it. Now measure over 4 7/8 and cut it. We are just going to glue that right on down to the inside. Flaps are off. Whoops. Wrong way. Flaps off to the left. And we're going to glue that down. The inside is complete. Flip it over. Fold in your flaps. In paper pad number 2, you are going to take this page, flip it over. We want this, so cut that out. Now, glue that down to the front of your panel. If you need to do a little trimming, looks like I need to trim on the right hand side to fit to fit a little better, do so. Grab a piece of cardstock, and we are going to place our die plate down and run it through our machine. Apply glue to the back, center that, and glue it down. In your reserves, you will find another purple piece. Place your die plate down on it and run it through. Glue your piece down to the center. In your reserves, you will find Cherishing Every Moment. Go ahead and let's cut around that circle. Apply glue to the back and mount that right in the center. Let's go ahead, pinch it, and tack it down. Now, I did grab a butterfly, and I did use elderberry and sweet plum to give it a little more purple. I'm just going to put this right here. Let's flip it over. We are going to apply score tape around the middle, or around the edges, one down the center and 2 short ones on either side. I have my book, and all I'm going to do is mount that just like so. Open it up, press it down. Let's get our drits to close it. I'm going to go ahead, and I still haven't gotten my key on there yet. I'm still waiting to get some keys. So all you do here is, here's this part. You're just going to feed one side down through this. Pull it in the middle. Now if you're not using elastic, just use ribbon. Just cut off enough that you think, or keep it attached to your spool. We are going to feed the other side through. Okay. I'm going to hold this up here for a second. I'm going to latch it, pulling these two together. We don't want it too tight, but we don't want it too loose. So what I usually do is grab them both like this so that it will, since I'm using elastic, I'm going to go a little bit tighter. For you, you have picture mats to go in there, so you're not going to pull it real snug. You're going to leave an opening because the more picture mats you put in there, the more force. So just real easy, like if you're using ribbon, just place it like this. Pinch it and add a little glue, hot glue, wet glue. If you're using wet glue, at that point, unhook it and clamp it to hold it until it dries. Okay, I need to fix mine here. All right. So on the back, you can do several different things. You can leave the little tails out, and when I do, sometimes I just like to bend them back and at an angle. So I am just going to clip them at an angle. It's supposed to be an angle. And you can clip one out like this or that. This one, I need to just go like this, but I cut that one above too short. Okay, now what you can do is glue a flat back pearl here, or a button, looks nice. Whatever you would like to do. And once that's glued down, you can clamp it and hold it there. Now, as far as picture mats, also I wanted to say that since I have two of these albums, one I do sell off, I'll be putting that on eBay. To find me in the search window, just type in Designs by Shellie, and anything I have for sale is usually listed up there. If you don't use eBay, you can contact me through Facebook. And again, just do a search for Designs by Shellie. Let's get a piece of cardstock. And I'm going to show you how I do picture mats. Here is from our reserves. All I do when I mount these is I just leave a 1/16 of an inch of black showing all the way around. Now that is my taste. If you like a larger frame, you can go from there. I'm going to do one of these for you. I do my tags the same way. And I mount everything on cardstock because it seems to last longer and isn't so flimsy. Even though this is a premium, after a while, you know, paper gets weak. So at this point, I'm just going to cut a 1/16 of an inch off this and this, and that one will be done. Here is a finished picture mat, as you can see. Everything in your reserves right now is pretty much what I used to fill the other album I showed you. Like I said, you still have a lot left over, and you may want to try the Gypsy Wagon or do something else. One thing I did pull out when I did create the other one is to get my tags, since we did not get in there. And we also have these really postcard size little mats that you could use, or do something else, a little flip book with that on the front, and you flip it open and you have the cardstock inside. Now, if you are looking for gifts, you don't have time to make a bunch of stuff, but you like these mini albums, or you just like a craft piece that is already built, I want to tell you about a new eBay design group called MMSI. It stands for Me, My Stash, and I. And to find them, you can look down at the bottom of this tutorial page, and you will find instructions, but the easiest way to find them and everything that they have is when you're in eBay. Up in the search window, just type in MMSI, hit search, and a whole bunch of listings are going to come up. I personally know all these ladies that are in this group, and they are very talented. As a matter of fact, with my next paper line, the Christmas traditions, they're going to be creating some special craft projects with those, as well as the Beauty and Blues. So keep an eye out for them. All right, I think that we have covered everything. Until my next video, have fun, and I hope you've enjoyed this one.